these agenda items as we have them?
So moved.
Okay, can I have a second?
Second.
Second, okay, we have a motion and second that we approve the agenda as given. Are there any questions, any discussion? Not all in favor, let know by you should sign aye.
Aye, Buffalo. Aye, Boone.
Edwards. Yeah,
I'm sorry. He went on. Commissioner Edwards?
okay. 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 Ayes have it, motion is carried. Thank you so much. At this time, I'm going to ask you, Ms. If you'll read for us the conflict of interest statement.
In accordance with the rules of procedure adopted by this board in section 153A-44 of the North Carolina General Statutes, it is the duty of every member present
Five. Okay.
Thank you, Chairman Tyner. Board members, if you will look in your packet, it should be right behind the agenda with the seal on it. To give you a little bit of background and for the citizens present, this past July, the board enacted a moratorium on new solar farm permitting. And that moratorium was set to expire. The moratorium was set to expire today. Okay. I think we're okay. Part of the moratorium was for the planning board to explore revisions to our zoning ordinance to see if any additional regulations were needed to propose to this board and to the public for future solar farm development. Because of COVID and the cancellation of our last meeting, which a public hearing was supposed to be held, that presentation has not occurred yet and has to be reset. So our planning director, Mr. Flynn, has recommended to the board that we extend the existing moratorium through the end of April, April the 30th, which will allow this board to, number one, conduct a new public hearing. So the new regulations, if any, that are proposed by the planning board can be presented to the public and to this board. And further, that the board can take any action it wishes to take to modify the existing zoning ordinance. So before you is simply a new resolution adopting an extension of the existing solar farm moratorium through April the 30th, 2022. I'm happy to entertain any questions.
Well, if you have any questions, you let that's our attorney.
So within this time frame of January 31st, 2022 to April 30th, 2022, we're hoping to have the public hearing. Well, the planning board will meet. We'll have the public hearing, then we'll come back and we'll have a vote on the
Well, number
lifting.
one, and to clarify, it's my understanding that the planning board has already submitted, considered the matter, submitted its recommendations to Mr. Flynn. And now the next step would be to advertise and hold the public hearing.
Okay,
It was
so.
originally noticed to be held at last week's meeting, I believe, that was
Mhm.
canceled.
Mhm.
So we have to re-advertise and conduct a new hearing. Obviously, we think, we're all, we don't know how the pandemic is going to play out with scheduling. So we added more time to this than we think will be needed. We're going to try to get this accomplished next month.
That's what I was.
That's the goal.
wondering.
That's the goal.
Okay.
Okay. Any other
So,
questions?
and it's at the discretion of the board, how long you want to extend the moratorium.
I think we need to resolve this as soon as
As
possible.
soon as possible.
As soon as possible.
That's why I was concerned about the April date, but
Just did that just in case we could not meet because, well, okay. How about this? Question. Follow me in a question? How about it, Mr. Evans? Any questions?
No, I don't have any question, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. This time I want to know what the pleasure of this board to extend this moratorium for the solar farms. So
I do
move.
have another question, Attorney McKellar. Would it be an issue to state then after this date that we have here, April 30th, 2022, some sort of statement that says or sooner or earlier or what have you? That the board comes to an agreement
Not longer than that.
or what?
Well, I can put the sentence at issue for the benefit of the public who doesn't have this. I'll read this paragraph. Due to the proliferation of solar farm facilities within the county's jurisdiction, which directly affects the aesthetics, environmental impacts, and economic viability of the county, and with the exceptions to this development moratorium outlined in section 2 below, there is hereby extended a development moratorium on the issuance of building, zoning, conditional use, and/or special use permits for solar farm development in Northampton County from January 31, 2022 through and including April 30th, 2022. I'm happy to insert a comma and include language to the effect of or until the board decides otherwise. That's very poorly worded on the fly, but I'm happy to enter such qualifying language as the board desires.
I had a motion by Vice Chairman Geneva Faulkner. I have a second.
Second Buffalo.
Second Buffalo. Any questions in the discussion? Question in the discussion. All in favor, let know by you to sign aye.
Aye, Buffalo.
I Boone.
Okay,
Hi, Edwards.
okay. I have a motion is carried. Thank you so much. We'll go down to number 6, Mr. Bob, will you please come and present for us?
Yes. Becky, are you on?
I am.
Great. I will introduce Becky in just a moment, but just a couple of preliminary comments. What you have before you tonight is the adoption of an updated pay plan for Northampton County. There are actually 2 items there, both pay schedule related, and that's what you're going to actually be asked to adopt this evening. I'm going to give you some cost figures on what it's going to cost to implement that plan. And note to you that we will be back to you at your next meeting with a budget amendment to appropriate the necessary funds from fund balance to implement the plan beginning March 1. I guess this plan, and Becky can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this plan was completed sometime March. I think. So it's coming up, and the plan was completed by Becky Veazey of the MAPS group. So it's coming up on almost a year. And I think it's an excellent thing that the County Board of Commissioners did in commissioning this study. The pay plan is really kind of a basic foundational document, if you will, for the county. And how up to date that plan is, in large measure determines whether the county can attract and keep good qualified people. And I'm sure what gave rise to this study was it had been some years ago that the last update was done. And we could tell from the turnover in county positions, the difficulty in recruiting, the difficulty in keeping people, that the plan was out of date and that we were not competitive with any of our other surrounding jurisdictions for similar kinds of positions or for the private sector. So it was indeed fitting and proper for the county to undertake that study. And I've been involved with a number of studies in the MAPS group through Becky Veazey has done, and I know she does excellent work, so I know you got a good quality product. But it was completed in March. And one of the hazards, I think, in the development of these updated plans is quite often counties will get them and say, well, we got it, we'll get to it at some point. And they let it sit. And the longer they let it sit, the more out of date your current plan becomes, and the more expensive it gets to implement the new plan. So coming to you something a little bit less than a year is probably a pretty timely thing. There have been no changes made subsequent to the plan being presented to you all originally. No changes to that plan. Becky did come in and make some adjustments to reflect changes in specific positions, specific people occupying positions, and any changes in salary. So she did do that. But what we're prepared to recommend to you tonight is really what is the partial implementation of that plan. One of the features of the plan, and I know this was near and dear to Mr. Tyner's heart, was we wanted to make certain that the plan did not pay anybody less than $15 an hour. That's what one of the accomplishments of this plan. So for the lower paid county positions, nobody will be making less than $15 per hour. The cost of implementing the plan for the remainder of this fiscal year to include salary adjustments effective March 1st and fringe benefit adjustments is $146,552. The first thing I did in looking at this was to go to the finance director and say, okay, can the county afford this? We're absolutely certain that for the remainder of this fiscal year, we can. Going forward next year, the annual cost of the plan to include salary and fringe benefits will be just a little over $440,000. I asked the follow-up question, as things look for next year, make sure that the county can afford that. And the consensus was that yes, the county can afford it. So that's what you have before you tonight. You've got two papers here, one that's 3 or 4 pages, one that's just one. But that's what you're going to be actually asked to adopt this evening. Then we'll be back to you, and that will enable us to get going, because to do this March 1, obviously there's some payroll work that needs to be done to affect this. But they will come back to you at your February meeting, the budget amendment to actually fund it. The cost for next year will be incorporated into it. So Becky, that's probably going on too long, but let me turn it over to you. Becky Veazey, the principal of the MAPS group.
Thank you, Bob, and thank you, Mr. Chair and Board of Commissioners. I don't know if you remember, but I was there, I think last August, and presented the full study to you with a binder, about 2 inches thick, that was not intended to be intimidating. What it included was a lot of new job descriptions, updated job descriptions for the county, because many of them were out of date. And those are important in terms of giving employees new employees, especially guidance on their job duties, as well as identifying recruitment requirements for education, experience, knowledge, skills, abilities, certifications. The implementation strategies that we originally recommended was very conservative. It was placing employees into the recommended pay range at, if they pass probation, a probation completion step plus 1% per year of service. That is so conservative that an employee would have had to be with the county for 50 years in order to be at the top of the range. What this phase in does is it places them at 0.5% per year of service into the range. What that means is it would take 100 years. Somebody would have to have been with the county for 100 years to be placed at the top of the range. So you can see that is very conservative. It also means that there's a significant amount of compression. And what compression is when long-term employees and brand new employees are too close together in the pay range. For example, under this implementation strategy, someone who's been there, let's say two employees with the same job title, let's say deputy sheriff. One's been there 5 years and one has been there 2 years. There's only a 2.5% difference in their actual salaries. That's why it's going to be really important. It's an important step to start with this step 1 phase in, but it will also be important to do step 2 next year to help widen out and reduce that compression some more. The other thing to be aware of is that because this was presented to you last March, most of the places that we surveyed for data did a cost of living last July after we did the salary survey. So this really is 1 year behind market. This coming July, those same places will do cost of livings again. So it really will be important for the county to not just give employees an increase, but update the whole pay plan so that the hiring rates are moving up in the market as well as employee salaries are moving up to help you stay much closer to competitive hiring rates. So let me pause and see what kind of questions folks have.
Board members, do you have any questions? Board members, got any questions? This is the same thing we talked about over a year ago. We had this outfit to come in to do the study for us, and now we're ready to implement it. Any questions you all have? Any questions? Any questions? Okay, I am too. I'm ready for our employees to have that increase. Okay, and we can do it, and we gotta do it. We want to be competitive with the people we hire. We can get the very best people we can get. You all have been perhaps seeing it on TV, how EMS in particular having a hard time getting people. You've been seeing how even the sheriff department having a hard time getting people and keeping people. So this is an opportunity for us at least to be competitive with everybody around us. So if there be no other questions, I would entertain a motion at this time that you would have our finance and people and our HR to move forward on this new pay plan.
Chairman Todd, I make a motion that we move forward with the authorization to partially implement the recommended pay plan adjustments as presented to us.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Buffalo. Any questions? Any other questions? Discussion? Not all in favor, let it be known by usual sign aye.
Aye, Buffalo.
Aye, Edwards.
Ayes have it, motion is carried. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Beasley. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Ms. Beasley.
Thank you.
Okay, at this time, we likewise got approval of the bids for Northampton County High School East road, water, and sewer Maine. Is anyone from Rivers on the, yes?
Oh, yeah,
Fred?
Fred's here. Can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you, Fred.
Okay. If you would like, I will briefly go through the bidding process and the bids received.
Yes,
Okay, the project, it was a formally advertised project. And we attempted to open bids originally on November 30th, 2021. We only received 2 bids at that time. And since the project was formally advertised by North Carolina general statutes, you have to have a minimum of 3 bids, open bids. So we returned those bids to the contractors unopened, and we re-advertised the project. And we opened bids on December 14th, 2021. And we, the same 2 bidders returned. So the 2 bids we received were Hendricks Barnhill Company. Their bid was $243,000. And Dillinger Incorporated was $363,772.60. So the estimate that we prepared for the project back in 2020 was $178,420. So the low bid that we received from Hendricks Barnhill was $64,580 above the funds approved by DOT. So we had presented this to DOT to see if they would be willing to commit the additional funds so the project could move forward. I have verbally received from DOT that they are planning to commit the funds. And I was hoping I would have a commitment in writing by this meeting, but I do not. But the recommendation we're making here is still relevant because we're recommending that the Northampton County Board of Commissioners tentatively award the contract for construction of the subject project to the low bidder, Hendricks Barnhill, for the contract amount of $243,000, subject to acceptance by NCDOT for additional funds required and approval of the contract documents by the county's legal counsel. So that's the recommendation we're making here. Does anyone have any questions?
board members, if you have any questions, Fred is on and he would answer those questions. As all of you know, if you don't know, this is not really our project. This is the Department of Transportation project. They are allotting the funds for this project. This is, we just the conduit where the funds come through, we pay it out, but it's not our project. This is the Department of Transportation project. I just want everybody to know this is not our taxpayer money here in the county going to this project. Okay, if board members, do you have any other questions you need to ask Fred before we move on?
What was the overage amount again? 64,000 what?
$64,580.
Okay. Commissioner Edwards? Any question?
I have none, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Faulkner, any questions? Okay, could I have a motion at this time that we would accept the low bid and that we will award a contract providing that the the North Carolina Department of Transportation would allow those funds.
Chairman Todd, I make a motion that we approve the recommendation brought to us by Rivers and Associates for the hiring of Hendricks Barnhill Co. Incorporated in the amount of $243,000.
Second,
Second Buffalo.
thank you. Any questions, any discussion? No question, no discussion? All in favor, let know by usual sign aye.
I Buffalo.
I Boone.
I Edwards.
I have a motion is carried. Thank you so much. Board members, those are the items that we had on our agenda for this evening. Thank you for calling in. And at this time, I'm gonna ask for a motion that we go into closed session. Some things that we must deal with in closed session. And that was originally why we had this meeting tonight, so that we could get those things out of the way and be ready for our January meeting, February meeting. At this time, could I have a motion that we would go into closed session and that we would go into closed session and we would not come back out into regular session. It'll be a closed session. There'll be nothing that will come in closed session, that will come out back out to and need a vote.
I make a motion that we go into closed session according to General Statute 143-318, 11A and 6 personnel, and A3 attorney-client privilege.
Second.
With a proper second, we're going to close session. Any question and discussion? All in favor, let me know as usual, sign aye.
I Buffalo.
I Boone.
I Edwards.
I said motion is carried. Thank you all for coming. We really didn't plan to do very much tonight. Really supposed to be in a closed session, but you see the art, as we had to do what we had to do tonight. So again, thank you. Okay.
Chairman, will there be any action from this board following your closed
No,
session?
I just said that, no,
No action taken is not.
no, no, sir. No action. We don't do that in our closed session, come back out. We